Welcome to Volunteer Journal. I'm your host, Walter Black. On Volunteer Journal, we introduce you to some of the persons who are improving the quality of life in our community through their involvement in volunteer-based programs. In a few minutes, we'll focus on the Citizens Environmental Coalition and one of its many member agencies, the Katy Prairie Conservancy. But first, we'll meet with representatives of the Houston Maritime Museum and get a feel for the bright future in store for that institution and its patrons. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Our first guests are with the Houston Maritime Museum, and they are Diane Lipton, the Executive Director, and Niels Holland, the Board Chairperson. Welcome to you both.
Thank you very much.
By the way, I've visited the museum several times and been very impressed, and I'm pleased that we'll be talking about some new directions for the museum that'll make it even more impressive. But first, a little housekeeping, Diane. Where is the museum located?
We're located at 2204 Dorrington. That's right off of Holcomb, between Greenbrier and Montclair.
And what are its hours?
We're open from Tuesday through Saturday from 9 o'clock to 4:30. Mm-hmm. And our admission is $5 for adults and $3 for children 12 and under.
Very good, very good. Well, let's talk a little bit about the history of the museum, and before we get into some of the features. And I know you, Diane, had told me that Niels has maybe the best command of the history, so let's turn it over to you.
Thank you, Walter. I had the privilege of meeting and working with our benefactor and founder, Jim Manzolillo. Jim Manzolillo, a wonderful man, sadly passed away, but it was his vision for a first-class maritime museum right here in Houston. And on his death, he left us a very generous estate. In fact, Walter, we're in a position now to move forward because of his generosity. The best maritime museums in the world are all located on the water, so we have been working off and on for the last probably 8-9 years trying to find an ideal location, and boy have we found one right at the turning basin at the Port of Houston, located next to the Sam Houston Pavilion where the tour vessel leaves.
Mm-hmm. And backing up a little further, and because we do definitely want to talk about the future plans in some depth.
Sure.
Were you aware of how Jim got the museum started and the motivation? And I know his own background is of some interest.
Yes, as you met him, you recall that he was a world traveler, and he was quite an innovator with the design and building of vessels. And I think that a number of the folks that he built ships and boats for gave him gifts. He also collected things on his travels around the world. Then traction took place, and folks started donating all types of interesting artifacts, ship models, miniature ship models, and so forth. We have quite a collection and a library of some very unique nautical and maritime related books, mm-hmm. charts, graphs, so forth.
Very good. Well, before we get into the plans for the future, Diane, could you crisply describe some of the key features of the museum?
Yes, our museum really tells the history of navigation from the beginning of time to the port right now. And actually we have rooms that display model ships and many artifacts from World War II, from all the way through modern merchant marine today, the Port of Houston, the Houston pilots, how Buffalo Bayou was started with a model of the Laura, the first steamboat down Buffalo Bayou. And then we have also the history of the energy industry, starting with the whaling industry, going all the way through the offshore drilling rigs today. So it's quite an exciting experience. We have docents who are there to share the story. Many of our docents are retired from the maritime industry, and so they have great stories to tell. Many of them actually served in the war in different fields of service, and then they came into the maritime industry. So the stories that they can share are just so compelling and intriguing, and all ages just love going through the museum and learning about the rich history of maritime.
That's right.
And the docents themselves are volunteers, right?
That's exactly right. They sure are volunteers, and we love to have more volunteers come in and join with our docents. And it's a great team of people who really, I think they get as much reward out of coming and sharing the story as the people who come and get to listen to it.
Mm-hmm. And looking at some notes I took, you've got a gift shop, and I've seen the gift shop, not in a few years, but I remember thinking...
Well, you need to come
back.
back.
I remember picking up a couple things for my wife, is what I remember.
That's excellent. Our gift shop is greatly enhanced. We continue to grow it. We have many more things for kids than we have in the past. So if you have kids or grandkids, it's a great place to come for nautical gifts for them. We also have upstairs, we have some bigger ship models that we don't keep in the gift shop. We keep them in a special section upstairs for sale. So if you want to buy gifts that are the larger models, or then we have those for sale as well. And so we just have pretty much anything you want to offer from the nautical. We also have a modeling shop and a master modeler who does repairs and builds ships for people on a contract basis. So we would love, and she's there all the time. So if people need repairs on models that they have, and that is one of our, I guess, our greatest assets to people who really need repairs, because there's not very many people in this entire region that offer that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lost art, and Lorena does a great job of it. So that's another thing that we offer.
And I was checking the website this morning and noticed that you have a lecture series, which I was kind of aware of, and the topics looked fascinating to me. So I think it's worth bragging on the lecture series a little bit.
We are so proud of our lecture series. They've been going on for about a year, and we have a different history lecture series each month. They're free because we have sponsors. UTC is a sponsor of our history lecture series, and we have our docents who actually study up on the different models that we have and tell the whole story of that. We've had one on Joshua Slocum, who was the first person to sail around the world by himself, and many, many others. We also have authors of books who come in and do book signings and tell the story of their book at our lectures. Our lectures fill our space that we have, so we invite people to come and join in with us. And what's really exciting about them is the questions and answers, and the input that we get from the audience too just adds to the intrigue of the lectures, and so they're greatly enjoyed by everyone who comes. We also have a brand new lecture series, a Maritime Career Lecture Series. We just started it last month, and it is targeted at students from middle school through college graduates. And the purpose of it is to share about specific careers in the maritime industry, exactly what people in those careers do, what challenges they face, and how much they enjoy it, the reward they get from it. We also let them know how much money they can make at it, because that's something that generally attracts students to go into a career. And we also share the education or the experience that they need to be able to qualify for one of these jobs.
Sounds great.
And it really, the first lecture that we had last month, January 24th, we had 75 students there, and they all left saying, "We will be back," and they were so excited. So it was quite successful, and our next one will be on February the 28th.
Great. Well, let's jump to the plans for the future, the rationale for them, and the specifics. Turn it back to you, Neil.
Well, Walter, in your introduction, you said something about a bright future. That's absolutely spot on, but we also have an exciting future, something that Houston's going to be very, very proud of. We have recognized that the best maritime museums are located on the water, as I mentioned earlier, and we are in a unique position to be in a location to where our visitors, patrons that come to the museum, will be able to take a tour of an actual working port, either before or after they tour our museum. The whole experience of folks that have been on the Sam Houston, a lot of people in Houston have visited the port on the Sam Houston vessel. That will continue, but they'll have a much more comfortable place, particularly in the summer, to relax. We're going to have a playground for the school kids, an area for picnicking, a gift shop, a restaurant. opportunities for folks to really enjoy the new museum. We also have recognized that all museums have to have a certain wow factor, something that's very unique and special, and we have two that I'm proud to mention that are in the plans, one of which is a scaled model of the Houston Ship Channel. And that a lot of folks work in the maritime industry, but others that don't work in our industry don't recognize the true importance and significance of our Houston Ship Channel. And we feel that that'll be a great tool and illustration to show folks of all ages exactly what we have on the Houston Ship Channel. The other thing is that we are positioning ourselves to hopefully become the world's best location for miniature ship models. As Diane mentioned, we have one of our board members that is a modeler, internationally recognized, and that is also sadly a dying art. And a lot of folks around the world have models that they want to leave in a safe place, either on loan or as gifts. And we envision that someday we'll have what would be considered the world's best location for miniature ship models. So we have the modern ship channel as well as the older art of modeling ship models.
Mm-hmm. And I might mention that a lot of people in Houston don't appreciate what a seaport Houston is. I was looking at the American Association of Port Authorities website this morning. Houston is total trade number 2 of American seaports. With regard to imports, number 1. With regard to total foreign trade, number 1. With regard to domestic trade, number 2. I see we're going to have to close out the interview, so let's do that by allowing you to give the phone number people can call to inquire about the museum and volunteer opportunities, which we didn't spend much time on, but there are plenty, and the website, of course.
The phone number is 713-666-1910. The website is houstonmaritimemuseum.org. And we would love to, we also have Facebook, and we also have a monthly newsletter electronically. So if you just call us and give us your email, you can stay up with everything exciting going on, including the lectures that we were speaking about.
Thanks so much, Diane, and thank you, Niels. Appreciate your being here. While we allow time for our next set of guests to take their places, we're going to tell you about some other volunteer opportunities available in the greater Houston community. So please stay tuned. Love, sweat, and cheers are in abundance when persons with developmental disabilities vie in Special Olympics competition. Volunteers help make this possible by serving as coaches, scorekeepers, referees, and huggers during these inspiring sports events. Competition takes place on weekends at locations throughout Greater Houston. No experience is required. For more information, call Volunteer Houston at 713-965-0031. Lives can be saved through your involvement with a program that channels badly needed medical supplies to third world countries. You can support the program by helping sort and box these items at a warehouse near Westheimer and the West Bell. The work is simple and doesn't require a great deal of brawn. Shifts can be scheduled for weekdays or weekends. Call Volunteer Houston at 713-965-0031 for further information. Help the homeless by volunteering at a day center near Broadway and Park Place in Southeast Houston. Depending on your preference, you can help check in clients in the morning, prepare breakfast or lunch in the facility's kitchen, distribute towels and hygiene items in a shower area, or assist with laundry. Volunteer time commitments can be flexible. For information on this and other volunteer opportunities, please call Volunteer Houston at 713-965-0031. Welcome back. Our guests on this segment are representing the Citizens Environmental Coalition. They are the interim director of the coalition, Sean McFarland. Welcome, Sean. And with Sean is Jaime Gonzalez, who is community education staff person at Katy Prairie Conservancy. And one reason that Jaime is here is the Katy Prairie Conservancy is a member agency of the Citizens Environmental Coalition. Plus, Jaime has served on the board of the Citizens Environmental Coalition. But we'll get in a little bit to also what the Katy Prairie Conservancy does on its own. But starting off, Sean, what is the mission of the Citizens Environmental Coalition?
First, thank you for inviting me here.
Oh, thank you.
Citizens Environmental Coalition was founded in 1970. We're an organization of other environmental groups. We're a nonprofit group ourselves. Our mission is to foster dialogue amongst the environmental community in the Houston Gulf Coast, generally South Texas area, to communicate issues on the environment to the public through several different sources. We do have a board, and we're an umbrella group of about 100 agencies in Houston who are also nonprofits and other governmental entities.
Mm-hmm. Just to give, you said about 100, just to give a sense of the diversity, the range of diversity of the group without worrying about
Specifics?
slighting anybody, because you can't. I'm not going to ask you to name all 100. But we've got Katy Prairie Conservancy. What's a good little handful of names that would express the diversity, convey the diversity?
Of the Biopreservation Association, Houston Galveston Bay Association, Texas Campaign for the Environment, Environment Texas, headquartered in Austin, Katy Prairie Conservancy, the Memorial Park Conservancy, the Audubon Society, local chapters, the Sierra Club local chapters. There are a variety of outdoor type organizations and other conservation organizations, advocacy organizations, air and water quality. Houston Area Resource Council is a member organization. So our job is to bring these organizations together under one umbrella so that our voice is stronger on the issues. We do that through a few core programs.
Mm-hmm. And why would someone want to be a member? I guess that was partly implicit in your last words, but
Yes.
could you flesh that out?
Yes,
some?
we have a resource guide which we publish at the beginning of every year. It's a paper copy. It's also on our website, cechhouston.org, where people can access a PDF file of all of our member organizations and details about those organizations. We also publish within our guide some governmental agencies, local and statewide, and area colleges, who our elected officials are and how you get in touch with them, some environmental hotlines. People would want to join our organization because we serve as a clearinghouse for their activities that they want to put out there to the public. We have a weekly newsletter that involves all of the environmental activities that are going on in Houston, so at the beginning of the week you can plan. If you get this weekly newsletter, all of your activities, their volunteering opportunities that are listed in the newsletter, environmental news that's current for that day, ozone reports. People can sign up for our newsletter at the same website, cechhouston.org. Our member organizations are published in detail in our guide, so if people are looking for contact information for Audubon Houston or Memorial Park Conservancy, they can find who the executive director is, when they meet, if they have regular meetings, where to find links to their classes. So our environmental newsletter also has classes if you wanted to learn kayaking or take a class with Urban Harvest, for instance. It's all listed and it's all relevant to that particular time frame.
Does the resource guide also contain information on the volunteer opportunities with the specific agencies? Yes.
If you were to look at a particular agency, it would have their volunteer opportunities and sometimes who to talk to or who to email. The resource guide is also listed on our website, and it's updated twice a year, usually in the beginning of the year and mid-year. So that's on our website, cechhouston.org, under resources. We have a PDF version of our most current resource guide there.
Oh, that's great.
We also serve as a clearinghouse for green jobs. We, on our calendar, on our website, we list green jobs. In our newsletter, we list green jobs. We get phone calls all the time for people that are looking for certain environmental information, and we patch them through to our member groups.
Now, the newsletter you said, again, I'm looking at it from the perspective of someone interested in volunteer opportunities, said the newsletter contains volunteer opportunities. How can someone get the newsletter?
They can register for that newsletter on our website, www.cechhouston.org. There's a sign up for our newsletter button on there. They can link and leave their email address. We email to anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 people a week, so it's always growing.
Excellent, excellent.
So this is a way we reach out to the public and let them know what's going on in Houston, classes, workshops, seminars, events, speaker engagements. And we serve as a link from our member group so they can post that information on our site and our website.
Now, aren't you guys the instigators of Earth Day in the Houston area?
We have in the past. We've been involved. It's usually a huge collaboration because there's so many environmental groups that come together in one place. And in fact, there was a little lull with Earth Day, and it's coming on back strong because of our popularity with Discovery Green. So we have our Earth Day events at Discovery Green, and that'll be published in our website. But it's really Earth Month because there's so many activities that happen. It's so popular to do Earth Day events throughout the entire month. So that'll happen in high spring.
Very good, very good. And you had mentioned to me on the phone that the annual meetings are of special interest.
Yes, we have started to offer an environmental summit at our annual meetings. So we bring our member groups together for collaboration and discussion, and we end our meeting with a report in a few weeks or a month after that can be acted upon by city government or local planning officials like Houston Galveston Area Council. So we offer that opportunity to anybody. It's just basically the cost of a meal and small overhead sometime in spring for our annual meeting and a summit.
Very good. Well, let's turn to Jaime now. Jaime, you're with the Katy Prairie Conservancy. You've been a board member of the CEC. From your perspective, from your experience, what is the value of being a member of CEC?
Well, thank you for having me today, by the way. But I think Sean spoke well to what CEC can bring, and we're very much at a crossroads in the environmental community in Houston. We want to do bigger things. We want to get our message out there better. And we need a collaborative institution like CEC to bring the players together to help formulate better strategies for communication, for working together to push forward some of these initiatives to make Houston a better place to live from an environmental standpoint. So from our standpoint at Katy Prairie Conservancy, having CEC in their role of being kind of a force multiplier and in getting us working more smartly together is one thing. So that we like I said, we bring the players together, we discuss things, how to move forward, how we can get rid of some of the duplication that we do, how we can pioneer new ways of doing things. The second and key aspect is their newsletter and other forms of communication, which help to disseminate the information out to the general public. There's a lot of things going on in the environmental community, but without somebody having a more kind of 10,000-foot view of all of the things that are going on and being able to encapsulate that into communications, it's hard for people to go out and find all this information on their own. So in a lot of ways, they are not just a convener of people, but an aggregator of information and tools and possibility.
Great, great. Well, we've got just a couple minutes left. Let me give you the opportunity to squeeze in some salient points about your organization proper, KPC as we call it. Have at it.
Well, I think that when you take a look at the greater Houston area, we are blessed by a multitude of diversity. We have the most diverse metropolitan area, and that's really mirrored in our natural resources. We have probably the most diverse part of the state right here in Houston. A lot of people don't think about Houston as being kind of a wild place or showcasing a lot of natural diversity, but it very much is. I'm a biologist by training. I can tell you that as I go around the Houston area, if you look at the bays and the beaches and the forests and the prairies and all these natural structures that do so much stuff for us, it's very important. And we want everyone to know about and treasure the Katy Prairie, which is a historic prairie just west of Houston, where you can still see bald eagles and bobcats and farmers and ranchers who've been working the land for many decades. It's a really rich place. And we think that people should know about it and treasure it for a number of reasons, not just because it's a local food source and a local place for our wildlife, but also I call it Houston's shield. It's on the northwest part of Houston, and that's where a lot of our rivers and creeks originate. That's where their headwaters are, like Buffalo Bayou and Cypress Creek and Spring Creek. And so we have a mixed-use landscape of farms and ranches and prairies and prairie potholes and all of these things, and they act like a sponge that sponges up rainwater that could be floodwaters if we develop all the Katy Prairie.
Very good.
Yeah.
I never realized the importance until I became aware of your organization. Well, we're pretty much out of time, so let's give the websites and phone numbers for each of the organizations, and I'll just read them myself, I guess. For Citizens Environmental Coalition, the website is www.cechouston.org. The phone number is 713-524-4232. For the Katy Prairie Conservancy, the website www.katyprairie.org. Phone number 713-523-6135. Well, thanks so much, Sean and Jaime, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you, the viewer, for tuning in today to Volunteer Journal. See you next time right here on HTV.